Hi, I'm Dr. Bhargav Raut from Pathofast Lab in Pune. And I've been noticing this trend lately where everybody and his grandmother is like, my vitamin D is low. I need to take some vitamin D supplements. I need to increase my vitamin D levels. And I'm totally stunned because most people seem to think that vitamin D is like some kind of a magic bullet that's going to solve everything in their lives. Without knowing that vitamin D is probably more dangerous than good, and almost no one seems to know that vitamin D can cause far worse problems if its level is above normal than it will if you don't have enough of it. So it's the kind of thing where too much of it is probably worse than too little, if you ask me, because most people are rampantly consuming these supplements which are available over the counter. You really don't need a prescription for many of them, and even if you do, no one really cares. So the thing is that I'm a little stunned, and I want to tell you about the things that can go horribly wrong if you develop what is called vitamin D toxicity or hypervitaminosis vitamin D, which is basically long names for too much vitamin D. So people don't realize that vitamin D is basically the thing that makes sure that you've got enough calcium in your blood. The whole job of vitamin D is to ensure that your body picks up as much calcium as possible from the intestine and from the kidneys and shoves it into your bones and all the other places in your body. So it's the regulator that the body uses to make sure that you've got enough calcium. So you can imagine that if your vitamin D level rises up a lot, it's going to be accompanied with a rising calcium level. And all the problems that you're going to have because of this crazy vitamin D attitude that everybody seems to have are because of this high calcium level. So what are these problems? Well, they're so dangerous that, what if I told you that a very high calcium level, which is what you will get with a very high vitamin D level, can cause your heart to just literally stop, or it can put your heart into these rigors or these kinds of contractions that move really fast or too slow, and this can just kill you. It can literally kill you. And if you don't have proper control on knowing how much vitamin D you're actually taking, you have something called a prolongation of the QT interval in the ECG. Now, everybody knows what an ECG is. It's those squiggly lines that doctors look at when you go to them for a checkup. So there's a little segment in that called the QT segment. And if your calcium level rises, this QT segment goes on getting prolonged, and it affects the way in which the heart beats. And for people who already have heart problems, for people who are maybe already patients of some kind of a heart disease, which is a lot of people these days, especially older people, this can be very dangerous. This is probably the most dangerous thing that can happen if your vitamin D level goes too much. But there are also other problems, and I think this is one of the most painful things that you can develop because of consuming too much vitamin D are kidney stones. People don't realize that if there is too much calcium in your blood, that calcium is going to find its way into your kidneys, because the only way for the body to get rid of the calcium is through the urine and through your feces. So the calcium that goes up in your blood is going to get stuck in your kidneys, and you're going to develop calcium kidney stones, which are basically made of calcium. Kidney stones are supposed to be the most painful thing that can happen to a human being. And just imagine that all this has happened because you're just chucking in these supplements like they're candy or like they're chocolate, and you don't realize that you can develop very painful kidney stones which could even need surgery, which could need lasers, which could cost you n number of dollars, and you don't realize this is just because you're eating too much of this. The third thing that people also don't realize is your hair. We live in an Instagram age where everyone needs to look their best, but what you probably don't realize is these high levels of vitamin D and calcium can cause your hair to fall out. Your hair can become brittle. You can have patches of thinning. You can develop rash on your scalp. All kinds of things can happen because of having too much of this stuff in your blood. And other than this, when we look at published cases in journals, when we look at what has actually been reported because of vitamin D toxicity, most patients who land up in the hospital with too much vitamin D in their blood, they land up there because they are confused. They say their mental status is altered. They don't know where they are. They are spinning. They don't know what is happening around them. I mean, altered mental status is one of the things that we see in end stage hypervitaminosis. That is, when your vitamin D is more than 150, which is the established threshold for toxicity. Just for you to know, a normal level is between 30 and 50. But if it goes above 150, which is 3 times above normal, you will have what we clinically call hypervitaminosis toxicity. These guys land up in the hospital without knowing where they are, what they are doing, who they are. They lose their minds. And this is another very dangerous thing that can happen. There are a lot of other problems that can develop because of too much vitamin D, but these 3 or 4 are like things which are, very, very clear to understand. And people don't realize that the number of